Okay, and we are into Game 2 of Don't Care versus Reason Gaming. Game 1's up if you'd like to watch. It was a pretty good game. Uh, so I do encourage viewing, not just because, yay, for some reason I want views on videos because I feel like doing this all day and somebody should actually watch it, but because actually that was a pretty decent Game 1. Had some nice twists and turns, or at least it was uncertain for a while. Okay, so we're going to move into Game 2 here, as Reason takes the Hellborn position instead of a Legion, and of course, the typical caveat to but before this game is, Don't Care is a gold division team that just made it up this cycle, and they got 2 by Stay Green, took a bye in the first round of losers bracket to get here to losers bracket round 2, and they're certainly less well known for good reason than Reason Gaming is. So, Reason over here on the Hellborn side is pretty well favored, I think, in this match. The bans, meanwhile, Kraken, Ophelia, Drunken Master, and Cersei. Kraken, Drunken from the Legion, and once again they're going to ban out the DM. Probably noticing that Imbaboy has been playing DM quite a bit lately. He played it in 2 games, I think, against Denial. And I believe played it in losers, or played it a bunch in the losers bracket as well. Actually sitting at mid too, and he's usually their short lane carry player, so I don't think that's so much them changing things up as it is they like to play DM. He's a good DM player, and it happened to work out that DM was optimally placed in the middle lane, so I don't know this role reversal so much as Imboy liking that hero and deciding he wants to put it in the mid instead of in the short lane or the suicide, as he really can be running all 3 lanes. Ophelia Cersei, of course, from Imbaboy here on this Hellborn side, as Oph is commonly banned, not wanting that Legion team to be able to pick up arguably the best jungler in the game, plus Cersei, that extremely annoying support, who many people think is up with her there with the top tier. We see her banned out so much, it's pretty hard to tell, but we've also seen her play a couple of times to great effect. We've also seen her played once to pretty minor effect, but that was a game where things that went wrong were not Cersei's fault, really, as it is usually hard to lose a game as a result of a carry, but it certainly can happen if you're not Warden. Then moving into the picking stage, Engineer, Wretched Hag, and we're waiting on a third pick here from Don't Care, but NG Hag, some pretty decent synergy there with NG Ultimate keeping everybody in place for the Bat Blast on top of Hag, and of course Hag and NG have some decent gank potential with Hag offering some burst damage, and that HoN making a keg much easier to land if they're all slowed down. So I think fixing one of the issues they had in the previous game, and Bubbles is the same thing here, fixing actually 2 of the issues they had, they didn't really have much team fight and they didn't have much team synergy. So they picked a bunch of reasonably strong heroes, but heroes that didn't necessarily work particularly well together. And I think in this situation they've remedied that somewhat with NG, Hag, and Bubbles all having nice AoE team ults and having some pretty decent ability to work together. Even Hag Bubbles, of course, can initiate from relatively far away, do a bunch of burst magic damage, so there's some pretty solid gank potential between those 2 heroes. And, I'm never going to deride a Hag pick. I think pretty much no matter what team you're running, you can probably use a Wretched Hag. But enough about Legion, let's move over to the Hellborn, Pyromancer, Keeper of the Forest, and Pebbles. Now, I've learned my lesson with Reason Gaming because they keep running that short lane Keeper for some reason, and while I don't like it very much, it has worked in the past. I still think they should stop doing it because I don't think it's the best idea, but I am no longer looking at that Keeper and thinking jungle suicide. With, of course, the primary focus being on the jungle, considering the nerfs he took to his suicide potential with his armor debuff. Like I said, I still don't like it. I really think that Keeper should be a jungle hero and might be a suicide if you've got an experienced Keeper suicide player. That's fine. It's not great, but I do prefer him in the jungle. He jungles relatively fast with Entmoot, and he's a bit of a passive, but that's okay if you've got a short laner that can deal with that. So who's just interested in sitting there and taking CS like a Soul Stealer or something like that. Soul Stealer's not that heavy on ganks anyway. He'd rather just take the lane and free farm and get them souls up and start hitting really hard. And then once he's level 6, once both heroes are level 6, then he can come in and gank and get a couple of kills. So we'll see. But the Pyromancer Pebbles here, I assume that's going to be the dual lane. Pebbles was played last game by Death Growl. He was quite effective on that hero as they ran it in the top lane. And I assume, once again, this is going to be a mid, but we never know here, as Reason's lanes tend to be a little unpredictable, so it makes sense to run Pyro Pebbles middle, but we'll see if that's actually what happens. I assume this is, of course, going to be a support Pyromancer, but could be running a carry roll. You never know. He is one of those versatile heroes that can really do both. I don't think he's the best at doing both, and I think if you're going to pick up Pyromancer and Tortures on the board, then you've made a grave error, possibly even Witchslayer. As Witchslayer, especially in a support role, I think he is better. That nuke that Pyro has is nice, but I prefer the CC tool of Witchslayer, and the mana drain actually isn't terrible. It does save you some money, not having to get some clarity pots. So not particularly useful early on, but eventually it will help you keep up that mana, and Witchslayer uses a lot of mana, so having that there is pretty helpful. We are through the second banning phase. Of course, Moonqueen, Corruption Disciple, and Tempest coming out as bans for Legion side. As they normally want to think, oh, they already have Keeper, why would you ban the Tempest? And that's because Zane keeps running that short lane Keeper, so they don't want to allow Reason to also pick up a Jungler, as they could very well do that. Or they could have. Corrupted Moonqueen, of course, more targeted to the lack of a carry right here on Reason's side. So I do expect them to pick up a short laner in the next pick, possibly a Gemini. They just play Forsaken Archer. That could be it. When I say short laner, of course, I mean a hero that's traditionally run the short lane, not that Reason will necessarily do that, because as we've seen in multiple occasions, Reason does not like to conform to the, decided upon stratagems that everybody else has figured, oh, this works well. They have some weird, funky lanes that come out. But we are there's our last pick here for the Hellborn side, and this is going to be a Wild Soul. So I sort of wonder if that's going to be a jungle Wild Soul. They have a Bubbles, who could theoretically suicide, so could Magnus or Hag. Or Wild Soul, or this could be a dual support with Magnus and Engineer. So, pretty confusing lineup coming out here from Legion in terms of what they're going to do with it, and that's obviously a good thing. It's important to note that Magnus, Bubbles, and Wretched Hag and really Magnus and Engineer, have some pretty solid synergy there. They are good at jumping heroes. Of course, Magnus eventually getting that portal key. So there's quite a lot of synergy between everybody really except for Wild Soul, and that's where the questions sort of come in. He's one of those chase down heroes, one of those come at me I can't die heroes, and a good tower pusher, but he doesn't team fight particularly well, and that's what most of the heroes on this Legion side are going for. So much like last game, picks that make sense for the first 4 times, and then something that's sort of out of left field with the last selection. Not to say this can't work, but I'm not entirely confident it will, and not just because, Reason's a better team.
Let's get it on.
But because I'm not really sure where Wild Soul fits in this, and I'm not even sure what he's going to be doing. He could be jungling, he could be suiciding. I would prefer the jungle, I think, just because it's better to run junglers than it is to not. And Wild Soul does have some jungle capability, so there's that. But we'll see what they end up doing. Meanwhile, over here on the Reason side, they finished off with Rhapsody and Zephyr, so this is pretty definitely going to be a support Pyromancer, and they're going to run this Keeper in lane, I assume short lane, because that's what they've been doing a ton. As Pyromancer certainly goes a couple Ward of Revs, and that's definitely a support Pyro build. It looks like they might be running an aggressive tri-lane here, which would be interesting. They do have 4 heroes in the Hellborn lane down here, so it's not, I know they actually 5, so maybe they're just skying a Hellborn jungle, but honestly, I wouldn't hate a mana tri-lane here from Reason's side. They've got 3 stuns with Pyro, Rhapsody, and Pebbles. Good initiation with Pebbles' stun, which mitigates some of the problems that the Dragonfire has, being a slightly higher cast time. And that could work pretty well, especially if this jungle Wild Soul is what happens, and they run a solo mid, say a Hag or a Magnus or a Bubbles. Zephyr could do fairly well against that, as he's going to greet Magnus there, but of course doesn't want to do anything much because he wants Tornadoes first, not the Gust. He will take it, I think, if he needs to, but would prefer to avoid that. So Hellborn Gang Squad coming in here, putting some wards down, blocking some camps here. So they're pretty convinced that this is going to be a jungle Wild Soul. And whether that's the case, yeah, it is going to be the case, as Wild Soul sitting here in the middle. That is, of course, the ultimate Wild Soul HonTour. So Wild Soul's going to find 3 camps blocked here, including the pole camp. The only camps going to be available are the hard ones. And that's going to be a bit of a problem as she, whatever you call. Wild Soul can certainly take camps early on, or hard camps early on, but isn't the best at it, as it looks like Tilla's trying to prevent the pull up here from Wild Soul's bear, so that's where the bear is. And we're going to see the Pebbles Pyro mid, so that's not particularly surprising. It's what I initially expected. Zephyr's going to solo top, so of course that's what I expected before. So the Zephyr pick, and usually see a Zephyr on mid, but Zephyr solo top, not really a problem, although he's actually not going to be solo as Rhapsody's coming in here as well to zone out the Suicide Bubbles a little bit. Mid lane's going to be NG Magmus, and it is in fact going to be Jungle Wild Soul, so I do like these lane decisions coming out from the Legion side. They should do pretty well here in middle. They have 2 stuns and great initiation with the Magma stun, and especially once he gets level 3, although the Dragonfire comes out on top of the Stalagmites. We're going to see the Chuck. No. Of course, not enough mana. Sorry. Forgot about that. So quite a lot of damage on the Magnus, though. And we'll see what he's going to do about that. He only has trees, no health pot, but he gets Angie's health pot because they're friends. So, yay for them. Now that they've eaten quite a bit of regen, though, Magnus is really interested in stunning out this Pyromancer for some reason. As now he's in some trouble. Don't really understand what you're doing here, Mag. Steam Bath goes down, but there's a Stalagmite. It's going to be a Dragonfire stun right here. On top of the... Okay, yeah. So, I don't know what the hell that was, besides awful, but hey. Meanwhile, Bubbles over here is getting chased down by Rhapsody and Zephyr way past the first tier tower. He's going to take a Shell Surf and go to middle, as actually, Jesus, this top tower is taking a bunch of damage, and now he's in a lot of trouble as the Gust comes in, and he's going to be dead. So, I'm a little baffled. I don't know if Don't Care is just throwing or what, but those were some pretty stupid decisions in both situations. Bubble's going to port back in here, hit level 2, so that's nice. Knock off that health, that Clarity Pot, but... really, this tower could fall relatively early. And they're going to decide to back out here on Reason's side. Going to get a bunch of damage onto this Rhapsody. Staccato Stuns come out, though, and Bubble's going to take some damage as well. Push the lane in some more with these creeps. And Zeph's just going to do what he can to kill this tower at, 3 minutes, which is pretty insane. Meanwhile, Engineer has come up here, tried to help Bubbles out a little bit, but that leaves Magmus alone in the middle, after already having taken a death. I don't think that's going to end very well, as of course both these heroes here can send him out of Steam Bath, and could just lock him down long enough to kill him. Pebbles already has his bottle, so he's going to have plenty of mana with which to harass, and health enough to die the tower. As the illusion nearly died, but not quite. Meanwhile, on Zane, they actually do run the Suicide Keeper. I failed to mention that a little bit earlier. Probably should have. I noticed it, but didn't say anything about it. And Wretched Hag is doing pretty okay here. Zane at 274 and Steed Hag at 225. So she's Zane winning this lane, and that's not good, obviously. Meanwhile, we got this Wild Soul in the jungle sitting at 200 gold per minute, largely thanks to these creep blocks the creep spawn blocks that have happened. So already in this game, things are going awful for the Legion side. Up on top, Dance Floor comes out, and this is going to be a dead top tower. As the creep wave nowhere near close enough to prevent this from happening. And there goes top tower at 4 minutes.
Legion tower.
And that's going to contribute to a 3.6k gold lead for the Hellborn side, even relatively inexperienced, slightly for the Legion side, but with the Wild Soul in the jungle compared to the dual support lineup that Reason's running, that's not good. That's not what you want. So really both games here, Don't Care running a jungler against dual support and not being able to capitalize on it. They're just losing pretty much every lane, and you can't do that. You got to win at least one. What's especially problematic, of course, is down here, Keeper of the Forest has 350 gold per minute. And Hag's got 242, so I'm not sure what's going on there, or how that happened, but it's real bad. I mean, it's not like Hag's died here. It's just, I guess, Keeper's gotten every CS. Sorry, as in the middle, Magnus goes down again. As he just gets Stalagmites and Shock and Dragonfire, and that's a death. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. When the combo is up, like, they're just going to be able to kill. Especially if NG's not here. There's literally nothing you can do about that. Besides, just sit under his tower. Zane's taking a bunch of harassment here and just does not care. So, I don't understand how Zane's winning this lane so hard. 26 and 6 CS, so it's not like he's perfect. Zephyr's got 41 and 5, which is gotta be perfect. 500 gold per minute. That's pretty insane. Meanwhile, in middles, Pebbles gets pretty low, thanks to NG Magnus combinations of the turret and the stun. But he's not gonna die. So looking at GPM charts here, yeah, that's ugly. Like 450 gold per minute on Zephyr, 400 on Pebbles, 340 now on Keeper, 200 on Pyromancer, and 250 on Wild Soul and Hag, and that's the best they can do. This is just a problem, is what it is. I would assume that Wild Soul's going for an early Alchemist Bones, as he's gotten no items and is currently sitting on 1,230 gold. But hey, you never know. Does his bear actually have any items? It does. Look at that. So he's already got one Gloves of the Swift, Gloves Pace, whatever. Gloves of the Swift, look at that. I finally got that damn name right. So he doesn't quite have enough money. He needs 1,400 gold to finish off those Alchemist Bones. I'm not sure it's going to be enough, as over here in the middle lane, we see Magnus get initiated on, I think, no, Engineer maybe. But he's unable to get a kill. Or they're able to get a kill. Magnus stuns in, on top of Pebbles. There's the keg. That's going to hit as well, but he's just going to go to half health and say, alright, that's it. That's all you got. I don't care, buddy. So pretty... There's the Alchemist Bones on the Wild Soul, so a nice pickup there. Pretty massive gold lead here for the Hellborn side, 4.5k. And the experience is actually tilting slightly in their favor, which absolutely should not happen with a Wild Soul stun and keg, and the Shell Strike comes out, and there's a dead Pebbles. So they're going to get a kill there. That's nice, but still not great. As Reason's just manhandling them. I've said that a couple of times. I was going to find Rhapsody maybe over here, or maybe he won't, and Rhapsody will get Staccato stuns out on here. There it is, a bunch, and he is going to get the Shell Strike away, so nice play there. Going to stop the death, but Zephyr, taking a bunch of tower damage, is going to try to push this tower down. Both NG and Magnus have come over to prevent it from falling, but it is going to be in deny range at least. And 149 go to hell, 113, so it's going to get pretty close to dead. They will be able to deny it if they want to, unless of course they are not careful about this. Thank you. So top tower does go down, and that's, man, posting secondary towers at 8 minutes. Okay, with just like a Zephyr, that's pretty much it. Okay, it's a thing that happened. It's going to contribute to Zephyr's 451 gold per minute. He has Nature's Veil right here as they're looking for an opening on Hag. There's the Root coming out on top of the Typhoon, and the Gust, and Staccato Stones, and there goes Hag. So Hag, a bunch of people were there, and she did not know. And as a result, she died. Meanwhile, bot tower is going to get pushed in with Dance Floor and Keeper, of course. Lots of pushing power here, with, Shock doing building damage, and then of course the obvious Zephyr Rhapsody Keeper combination that just destroys creep waves and keeps a bunch of minions all nice and healed up. Over here in middle, it looks like Pebble's going to open up on this Magnus, and that's not going to be a good decision. Actually, Dragonfire and their Pyro Ultimate comes out as Magnus is going to die. Dragonfire onto Wild Soul, but here comes the Kelp field from Bubbles, but there's a dead Wild Soul as she is unable to get into ulti form. Doesn't actually have it, despite being level 8. So, just too much damage there coming out from the Chuck onto a Wild Soul that has literally no items. Meanwhile, bot tower is getting pushed in, and that's going to die. So Reason's strategy here apparently is just kill everything, and kill it now. Which, as it goes, is relatively simplistic, but quite effective. certainly. Especially if you're able to execute, which they definitely have been. So NG will stack a camp here, but that's not going to do too much. A ward that just got placed is going to get countered by Tilla on this Rhapsody. Keg goes out, so this ward will grant plenty of vision despite the trees being in the way, or they were in the way. Zephyr will just clean up that mid, or that easy camp, and will now head mid to grab some more creep kills. And so is Rhapsody, and so is Keeper of the Forest. So the three Pushas here will likely be able to destroy this middle tower in a matter of seconds. Keg comes out, hits nothing. Staccato Suns won't be used, as they're more interested in just killing this tower. Frenzy, forgot about that. It's not actually even leveled yet, but it's, you know, has some potential to come out and do some killing. So, Reason's gonna now push in the secondary tower. I don't even know, man. Like, they gotta stop this, right? They can't lose all their towers in 11 minutes. Up top, there's a pretty decent push going up here, and Bubbles actually grabbed a creep wave up here to try to get the tower down. And they're gonna lose this top tower, but I don't think they care very much. They're literally just going for the base now. Like, this is it. They're just like, come at us, you know, if you can, come at us. And the Legion side really can't. There's so much for him here on Hellborn. 550 gold from the Zephyr, 450 on Keeper and Pebbles, 317 on Pyromancer, 224 on Rhapsody. As the stun comes in from Magnus, hitting 2, and the Keg, and the Kelp Field actually, as Tilla goes down relatively quickly, but the Typhoon goes off on top of the root, and both Hag and Bubbles die, so Rhapsody's dead, but they don't care. Magnus stun hits 3. Shockingly enough. There's a root onto Keeper. He's going to put the Nation's Veil down, but he's actually going to die thanks to the Sonar Scream from a Hag buyout. Bat Blast comes out onto Zephyr, and he's going to take a bunch of damage, but not nearly enough. Gus pushes him away. Shell Surf comes in, and Bubbles does not actually port with it, as Zephyr is now just going to run away and be totally fine, yes. Pebbles is back here saying, please don't find me. And Pyromancer has a similar theory. Staccato Sun's coming in from Rhapsody. There goes the Pyromancer ultimate, and Hag is dead. So they didn't look at the respawn timers there and didn't realize Rhapsody was coming right back. Pebbles stun hits 2, Chuck onto Magnus, and there goes Wild Soul once again. Pebbles is going to fall. No! Excellent Rhapsody ultimate to save him. And he's going to die, though, with a nice Shell Surf. So Rap ult saved him for a while, but not forever. As I was saying, does Rhapsody have CS? Yes, Rhapsody has 5 CS and 250 gold per minute as Pebbles buys back and kills Bubbles, so it says, you kill me, I kill you. The Rev Ward that went down here is going to be immediately countered by a pre-existing Rev Ward from the Hellborn side, so that's going to accomplish nothing. As the Legion has some really defensive wards here. There's 2, 3 even, all in this area. Just make sure they have enough vision to do something. I'm not really sure what, but something. As, nope, Keeper was headed mid, but will not actually push that through. Meanwhile, on bottom, Pebbles is going to find Hag. Not nearly enough damage, as he did miss the chuck, but enough to force her out of lane. Wild Soul is scared, as he well should be. Still does not have an ultimate. Apparently has not learned at this point that she is really squishy. Meanwhile, over here in middle, Magnus gets taken out again. Shellsurf comes out, hits a bunch, but nobody's going to die except Keeper's real low to the side of this Rhapsody. And they're just going to push into middle again on the Hellborn side. They got to pick on the Magnus. They're like, we'll take these racks. So Shell Surf once again, and that's going to hit Rhapsody. Not quite enough to kill her, as that dance word is a lot. Keg's Tongue hits 2. The Fortification comes out. It's going to summon out a little bit. Magnus is back up alive, and Rhapsody needs to be careful here. Although that Astrolabe helped out quite a lot. Keg's Tongue going to hit Zephyr once again, but these mid-racks are dead. Kelpfield on at 4. Pebbles comes in and combos Bubbles. Not going to be enough there, except for the Gust that comes in. Bat Blast hits 2. On top of the ultimate from Magnus. Root coming out to cancel pretty much everything and hold everybody in place. Staccato Sun's under Wretched Hag. She's going to die. Magnus already picked off. And alright. I guess Reason had somewhere to be. Because it's pretty clear their strat was, let's just win our lanes with a bunch of push heroes, and then win the game. Because that's funny. And I have to give them some credit. It's pretty funny. As the engineer field comes out, and Pyromancer doesn't care, kills Engie, but the root comes out onto her, grabs the ultimate, isn't going to be stopped, but will be enough to save Pyromancer. Booba gets chucked back, GG well played's come out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the CC in a couple of seconds.
A Legion barracks has been destroyed. Defeat.
And there it is.
Hellboy
So,
wins.
really pretty amazing play here from Reason in winning every single lane, especially Zane on that bot lane as a Suicide Keeper, outfarming that Hag by about 100 GPM. I don't know how that happened, and it absolutely shouldn't have. So, Steez, I think, on this Wretched Hag has to be a little concerned about that. But Don't Care will be knocked out here, of course, this being the loser's bracket, and Reason Gaming will move on. So that is it for Game 2, and we'll see you in the next series.